David here from Making Stuff Easy. Today we're going to be looking at addressing your weak passwords. We're going to be looking at a model that's been adopted and it's recommended and aligns to advice given by national security agencies and also financial organisations. It realises that people can't remember passwords, can't have individual passwords per account. This is a practical approach. It's not an Uber approach, it's practical. It'll mean that your passwords are still easy to remember, but difficult to crack, and therefore it protects your identity, your social media and the like. I'm going to be drawing on 30 years experience in IT, particularly in the spaces of cybersecurity, risk and compliance for financial, government and industrial organisations. So having said all that, let's get on with it. We're here to see how we can fix your weak passwords. We all have some accounts out there that were created before the hackers' tools became sophisticated, before the big data breaches that released millions of real passwords, perhaps one of yours, that now mean that your passwords can be cracked in seconds. And you probably use the same password across multiple accounts too, because it's easy to remember that, because it's what we all did. It's what we all do still. So today we're going to set out a proven plan to fix your weak passwords. We're going to do it to protect your money, your identity and your social media. And we're going to do it all in 3 easy steps. So what are these 3 easy steps to fixing your passwords? Number 1 is identify. List all your accounts with passwords. Now, you might take a little bit of time overdoing this one because you probably don't remember all your accounts. Just have a think about it. Take a couple of evenings perhaps over a weekend, and you'll get a checklist that you can download from our website to help you with this, and we'll show you that in a moment. So number 2, prepare. Select your new strong passwords, and we'll show you a technique for that that makes them easy to remember but difficult to crack. And then number 3, of course, is to fix. Go and change your passwords. Protect your identity, your money and your social media. So step 1, identify your passwords. What I mean by that is look for the accounts you've got out there. We're going to start with a ring model here, basic rings of defense. So we're going to start with this blue square, which is right at the center. And this actually will contain applications and accounts that are basically things like keys to the kingdom. Password manager, for instance. I store my passwords in a password manager. If that gets cracked, then it's game over. They've got my user IDs, my passwords, the websites, and other information as well. So I use 1Password. It's a good password manager. There are others out there. I'm not sponsored by 1Password, but I find it's very good for what I want. It works on multiple platforms. Then we start looking outside of that, and we're looking at the red zone. And fundamentally, these are where your super sensitive accounts are. Think about your bank accounts and your payment services. Think about your computer at home and how it authenticates to, say, Microsoft or Apple. Think about your router admin password and Wi-Fi password. You don't want people being able to hack into those. Think about government services like the IRS and the ATO, the tax office, social services, things like that. These things can impact your credit history, and it can drain your funds and cause you all sorts of problems if the passwords are weak and they get hacked. Now this blue circle is a special case. I've recorded it here because your employer will give you remote access or access their computers at work, and you've got to treat this one as separate. They'll have their own policies. If you don't follow their policies and it leads to a breach, then it can lead to disciplinary action and potentially dismissal. So think about that one. We're not going to consider it here any further, but I just thought I'd call it out that keep these passwords separate, don't mix them, and so for the moment we'll just put it to one side and we won't talk about it any further. Alright, having looked at the super sensitive accounts in the red zone, we can move out to the amber zone. So we're taking a traffic light model here, and these are the must protects. Things like online shopping, things like Amazon and eBay, online file stores such as Dropbox and Google's Drive and OneDrive and things like that. Sites with your credit card details where they might be taking your funds. We're talking here about utilities, gas, electric, water, insurance companies for home insurance, car insurance, rental cars, things like that, where they've got your credit card details. And then some authentication services. A number of your applications will authenticate through Google or other systems like this one. And obviously you want to make sure that those are protected. Now you might see on this actually that some of these are actually sitting across the amber and the red, because you can decide where they sit. Some of these will be more important to you, some are less important. This is just an example. Then we go into the green zone, and green doesn't mean it's any less important to you, but you still want to protect it. And for me, this is protecting my identity. I'm putting in there social media, like Twitter and LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook. I'm also putting in things there like my YouTube Premium account, applications such as TripIt, which will give information about where I'm going on holiday, and that can present a risk to my home security if people find out that information. Newspaper subscriptions, they've got my account details for taking out the monthly subscription, and so that has a potential risk to my bank accounts as well. Again, you may put social media as a higher priority. It might go into the amber zone, might go into red zone. This is just an example. Then on the bottom left hand corner here, we've got a special case. These are accounts that you won't be using, or you don't use, or you haven't used for a long time, and you've got no further use for. So these ones here are actually a special case. I'm actually talking about you delete or disable these ones. Okay, I don't know if anyone still has an AOL account, but as an example, it's one that you'd actually want just to get rid of. So remember that and work with getting rid of those if you don't need them anymore. If you find that you do need to go back to them, then you can go off and do a password reset on the site. Say you forgot your password, follow the email links, and it'll let you get back into the application. But the key thing here is you don't want to be having this one cracked and then finding you're using the same password across other applications, and people use through social media to identify those other accounts, and therefore they can get into those accounts. So if you're not using the application, disable it or delete it. So let's look at how you can do something similar for yourself. This is one page of a 2-page download from our website. There'll be a link below, but essentially here you can see it's a similar model, and this will be your list of accounts for fixing. On the left we have a similar diagram with lots of white circles. You can add extra circles, you can move them around, but on the right hand side you can see there's checklists, and there's more on the next page as well to allow you to go beyond the range that's shown here. Now the key thing here is you're going to be using this worksheet to record your accounts, but don't obviously record your passwords on here, either your existing passwords or the new passwords, which we'll look at how you're going to get those in a moment. So you can actually see, let's look at the 4 steps you need to do here. Consider the services where you have a password and the ring that they fit into: blue, red, amber or green. Put a number in each circle and write the account name on the list. And I've included some examples there for you to get you started. Tick each account off as you change it to the new password that you've selected. And then remember to disable or cancel any services you no longer use regularly. And here's the other side of this checklist. You can see that we can extend it down to 29 red accounts. There's also space there for 5 accounts to be disabled. And if you need to go beyond this number, then you can actually go off and add it to another list. But of course, again, just to emphasize, don't write your new or existing passwords on this sheet. So, we've looked at step 1, you've identified your accounts. Let's look at step 2. We're now going to be looking at preparing at least 3 new passwords. We'll want a strong password for each of the red, the amber, and the green zones. If you've got a password manager or something in the blue zone, then you want a 4th password that's even stronger, because obviously that's the key to the kingdom. I'm going to have a quick look at a couple of examples here. Unfortunately, surprisingly, the password 1 is a very, very common password. And if you stay to the end of this video, you'll see a couple of examples from websites and research done out of the UK and other locations that show that how common passwords like this are. Things like QWERTY and 12345, unfortunately. But on the right hand side, you can also see how quickly an average home computer could crack this password. 2 seconds. You have to assume, however, that a hacker won't be using an average home computer. They'll be using something much more powerful. And also they have new techniques that probably means that this will be done in a 1/10 of a second. So when you're looking at these times to hack on the right hand side, think less, think increasingly less. As there are more breaches, more passwords are being leaked out, people can do direct comparisons with the hashes, and fundamentally they can get to these passwords very, very quickly. So if you pick the same password as someone else and that passwords are being leaked, then there's a fair chance that yours could be matched and cracked very, very quickly. You can see here on the table there's a few options here, and I'll let you read through them, but you can see as we go through them they get increasingly more difficult to crack, particularly as we start to introduce capitals and some hash characters. But the important thing here is that it's typically just using some special characters in there to make it confusing, but within phrases which sort of make sense. So C# night would mean something to someone who's a musician potentially, or the last one there is paint the town red. And you can see that we very quickly get into the scenario that, compared with the first one, which is 2 seconds, this one in theory would take 14 centuries. And the whole idea here is actually trying to get you away from having an easily cracked password. If you think about the hackers out there and they're trying to go through a database that's being leaked of user IDs and passwords, and they get to about 70%, then they're probably going to be happy with that one. What we're trying to do is get you into the top 30% that they don't bother trying to crack. It's not guaranteed they won't get cracked, but we're trying to reduce the chances of it actually happening. So let's look at an example of how you can actually come about this yourself. Pick 4 short random words that together have some meaning to you. And the example I've got here is red paint on roof. And it could be that you've flown in on an aeroplane into an airport and you've looked out the window and you've seen a house with a red paint on its roof. Or you built a Lego house when you were a kid that had a red roof. Okay, now use some uppercase letters and remove spaces. Insert 1 or 2 numbers. So in the word paint, I've changed the AI into a 4-1, and they sort of look like an AI. And then replace 1 or 2 characters with special characters. So here, I've changed the E in red to a hash, which is an uppercase 3, and sometimes E is replaced with a 3. The key thing about this one is using the same measurements will take about 18 centuries to crack using the home computer. But remember, the time to crack passwords is getting increasingly lower. We're trying to get you in the top 30%. Okay, step 2A, picking the best and most practical option. Here we've got a number of options. We've got an Uber on the right hand side, and we've got a good model on the left hand side, but we're going to go for the best here. We're looking for something that's practical. If you go Uber, some people recommend you use a long, strong password that's different for every single account. That's not necessarily practical, and we find that people are actually writing those down, and therefore it becomes very weak. Now, financial organisations and government security agencies are recommending that you come up with a method we're going to be looking at in a moment, and indeed we showed as examples a moment ago. So just focusing on the information in the central column there, best. Now when you've picked your red, amber and green passwords, use them on all your accounts according to the ring that they fit into. Use a password still where possible and use its blue password, and we'll look at how you can make that one even stronger than the red, amber and green passwords. And then use 2-step authentication where possible. Increasingly applications and systems are using 2-step authentication, and it's fairly easy. Do a little bit of research and you'll find how easy it is, and it'll help you a lot here. Okay. So what to do? Pick new strong passwords for your red, amber and green accounts, and a stronger password for your blue accounts if you have any. Invest some dollars in a good password manager. Invest some time in investigating alternates to using remembered passwords for your red and amber accounts at least. Consider using 2-step authentication and randomly generated passwords. Download the template from our website to record your accounts and where they fit into the red, amber and green categories, and optionally blue. And then apply the best set of actions from below, and we'll look at that in a moment. It'll be a little challenging to start with, but believe me, it'll get easier very quickly. So, step 2B. This is where you get to have a bit of creative on your side. This is where you're going to pick your passwords. So bear with me for a moment and we'll just go through this very quickly. What to do? Pick a unique password for each of the 3 sets or 4 sets of accounts: blue, red, amber and green. You might choose a similar structure to the passwords, so they have some commonality, but they each have a unique and distinguishing part or parts. The goal is to pick passwords that are practical to remember while being difficult to guess or hack. So here's a couple of examples for your consideration. Again, emphasize, pick your own to suit your own requirements and don't use these because these can be considered to be compromised. So what we've got here is we've got the 4 zones, blue, red, amber and green. And for each of those I've got a colour ring indicating value on the left hand side. B1 for the blue 1 ring, R2 for the red 2 and so on through to green for the 4th ring. I've then got a common value. And you can see I've used something which is derived from 3 words put together, B on the ball. I've changed the E in B to a hash, as we did earlier. I've capitalized the T and the B in the last 2 words. And if we put those together, then we get B1 hash on the ball. So let's just look at those very briefly. Okay. Now, here's another example. Okay, again, we've got the blue, the red, the amber and the green. You can see that the blue one is actually longer because we've actually put in a 5th word. You think 5 words? Well, bear with me. We've still got the same common value to the ball in the middle, but for the blue one we've actually turned it into more of a phrase. Bring Sue to the ball and then added the 1. So we've still got the alphanumeric values for the colour and which ring it is in, but you can see it's a little bit longer. You can also see we've got a pattern that the 2nd letter of the prefix is a capital. Alright, and so you can actually see, and again these move into the realms of 17 centuries to crack, and indeed the blue one, using the same services, claims it's going to take about 1,000 centuries to crack that password. Again, those times are coming down. So there's some examples. Pick your own, and you see it's a reasonably straightforward construct. And because we've only got 4 zones, you only need to think about 4 passwords. Okay, step 3. This is where we take action. This is the fix. For each account with a password, and remember, here's your set of accounts. Select the correct new password for the correct ring. The blue, the red, the amber and the green. Change the password on the application. Test the change was successful by logging in somewhere else, and then tick off the account on your list of passwords. So, you probably know how to do this one, but just for completeness, how to change your password. Log into the application using your current password. Navigate to the password and change function and set the new password. Don't forget to check your email to see if you need to do anything further, such as acknowledge the password change. Test the new password by logging into the application. Don't forget to test it on other devices such as your laptops, smartphones and tablets. And if you don't know the current password, use the application's forgot password and follow the instructions. There's often an email or SMS sent to you to access a link to perform the password reset, and then close out the action by performing steps 2 and 3 above. Now remember, don't write your passwords, your new passwords, your old ones anywhere down. If you do need to write them down, write them on a small piece of paper, store it in your wallet safely, and then delete it as soon, or tear it up and throw it away when you don't need it anymore. But don't leave it too long. So, recap. 3 steps to fixing your passwords. 1. Identify. List all your accounts with passwords. We've done that. 2. Select your new strong passwords. We've done that. And finally, 3. Fix. Change your passwords to protect your identity, your money, and your social media. So thanks for listening in. If you like this video, then please like and subscribe and share. You can download a copy of the accounts checklist from our website. The address is there, and there'll be a link below. Come back for further videos in the near future. Thanks very much. Bye. During the video I made reference to some government indicators that are used by banks. NIST is a good example, and I'll provide a link to this down below. But fundamentally, NIST has moved away from its hardcore recommendation about random passwords and the like, and is setting some softer rules that recognises that we're humans and we need to do these passwords in a more practical way. And so there's a set of rules here, and I'll provide, as I say, a link to this so you can actually go off and do your own reading if you wish. Another UK National Cybersecurity Centre has listed the top 10 passwords based on their own research from hacking databases. And you can see here passwords like password1, QWERTY, 12345 are very common. Then we look at a couple of the examples we actually used. These are the tools I referenced, and again links below. And effectively it's saying that password1 is a weak password. So that's how we got one of these things. It's also recommended you do some things such as you make it longer, you include special characters and the like. So again, you can go off and try this through the links yourself, but of course don't use your own passwords. Now we'll look at the other information which we supplied earlier on, which was actually how long it'll take an ordinary home computer to crack these passwords. And again, password1 will actually take, in this particular case, 2 seconds. And you should assume it's even less now, because it's going to be one of the first passwords they test. Now, at the other end of the spectrum, for the examples we actually had, we've got Paint the Town Red, and there it's deemed to be very strong. And here, it's going to take about 14 centuries to crack this one using an ordinary home computer. So hopefully this is informative. Use the links below, do your own research, pick your own passwords, feel a bit more secure. And if you like this one, then please subscribe, like, and share. Come back for more videos in the near future on how to make things easy. Thanks.